All right, it is time for me to give you my book nerdy thoughts about Season 3, Episode 2 of The Wheel of Time. As I have mentioned before, but my perspective when going through, even when watching the show, but like especially for these breakdowns, is when something is different from the books, very rarely am I just going to go, oh, I don't like that. Generally, my brain, instead of like the alarm in my brain that goes off is, ooh, that's different. Why? Why did they do that? And that's the perspective that I have, because that makes it much more fun and interesting for me. So just know that going in. I obviously read the books a ton. I'm not going to go through every scene, but basically anything that jumped out at me and made me have thoughts, that's what we're going to go through here. I have 23 pages of notes. And yeah, there are going to be spoilers in this video through to the very, 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 very end of the series. So if you do not want the book spoiled for you, don't watch this video. Feels very weird to tell people not to watch, but that's just what I gotta do. So, but if you have, let's go.
Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy. Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy.
Okay, so we begin this episode with a young Morgase, a young pregnant Morgase, with her advisor, Elaida. And I can't help this. Look, there's her ring. It doesn't have a stone in it. I'm not going to obsess about this. I'm not going to. I'm going to try not to obsess about this, but it's just very clearly not a full Aes Sedai ring, and it's just so very, very visible. So, not obsessing. I've watched a few reactions from people who haven't read the books, and none of them are talking about this, so just move on, Jenny. Let's go. Okay, I know I talked about this when talking about the trailer and other like promotional material that we saw, but I still, it blows my mind that I never thought about this. Like the entire time I've read these books, all of the lions that they show here and all the emblems and there beside the throne, they're lionesses. It's a queendom. That is literally the term that Elaida uses later on. I was about to say Shore uses. It's Elaida, Jenny, the character. Uses later on. And that makes sense, because Andor does not have kings. It would be weird to call it a kingdom when in the history of Andor they don't have kings. So I don't know why none of us thought of this. At least, okay, if you thought of this prior to this and you weren't mentioning it and proclaiming it loudly from the rooftops, shame on you, because I don't know anybody who's mentioned this. It makes way more sense. Queen Morgase here says since Queen Mordrellin's death, and I actually went and checked. That is correct. I don't know why I thought it would not be correct. I just did not remember the name Mordrellin at all. It's not surprising. Like details like that definitely get lost on me because my brain just sort of skims it. I want to get to character moments, and so things like locations, maps, and definitely the details of what's happening in specific battles go way over my head. But this is correct. So Queen Mordrellin was the previous queen. She was Tigraine's, I guess, mother. I'm realizing now I actually didn't get a clip for this, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Galad and Gawyn. So we see them in this shot. I don't know, well, not this shot, but in this scene here. They're over to this side. Where would they be here? I guess behind where I am there. They're with Lini. And Gawyn is a baby, and Galad, it looks like he's maybe 3 or 4. And he runs towards Morgase and says, Mom. So I don't know whether he's still going to be her stepson or not. Like, obviously, a stepmother, like, that doesn't make a difference whether running and calling her mom, except it does give us a bit of a time frame, because I don't think he'd be doing that unless she'd been with him for enough time for him to see her as his mother, which makes him significantly younger than I imagined him being in the books at the time of the coronation, at the time of Morgase's marriage to Tarangel. So trying to put together the pieces to see where and what is exactly happening with his family tree, I can't quite yet. I don't have enough information. Just going to point out, we see lots of coat of arms here, or emblems, house signs. I don't know what they're called. And I would bet money, especially based on the fact that Mordrellin was a correct name, that if I went and actually researched these house emblems, I'm going to use that term, I don't know if it's the right term, and the names that are mentioned, that they would probably match up, just because I know in one of the costume videos, that one on the far right, we talked about that one, and then someone in the comments brought up that they knew exactly who that was from the description of the house sign in the books, and that person had not been a supporter of Morgase. So that's kind of cool. It's not something I would notice, but it's just a cool detail that they've gone into. It's cool that they've gone into that much detail. Okay, I can't be stopping every couple of seconds, but I just love this line here where that Morgase says, "The war's over, because I won it." And it's just, if they had just stopped here, it would have been, like, cool, right? Like, oh, Morgase is a little cocky, but that's really cool. Like, that's it. That's all you'd be thinking. Morgase, a little cocky. But that's not where it stops. So it appears that all of these people, these are her rivals, are killed by members of their own house. Everybody is killed by somebody who is behind them. It's always a man, and it's always in the same house colors. And this little child here literally says brother, which, okay, that got me wondering if perhaps, like, they were the first Prince of the Sword, like they were their brothers, and they would be what Gawyn is in Elaine's family to her, which is, like, is that part of his duty? Like, at some point, if she is in a specific position, he is to take her. Like, I don't know. But there's obviously been a lot of politicking that has happened to make this happen, because they are literally killed by their own family, or at least members of their own house. I do find it interesting that she had them swear fealty first, and I believe that this is so that it would require their house to fall in line with the fealty, especially because, again, she is not the one who does the killing. And this also implies that the succession was an actual war, which, okay, I did go and look this up. The succession war that basically where Morgase took power, it is called, I believe, the Third Succession War in the history of Andor. And it's mostly politics. Like, I don't think they ever talk about it in the books. I think we're all putting this together from details that we, can glean from what happened. But there's mention of assassinations that happen, right? This is not assassinations. Assassinations are stealthy. This is a slaughter in the court of Andor. This is like in the throne room, whatever. So this is not exactly the way it happens in the books. And obviously, when we see Elaine's succession crisis that happens later, Elaine's not doing this in the books at all. And it's mostly politics, but there are assassinations and death that happens. It's generally, though, not Elayne that's negotiating that, because she's not this bloodthirsty or ruthless. Actually, I'm gonna use the word ruthless because I don't think that the show was trying to make us go, ooh, she's evil. I think they were trying to make us go, she's pragmatic, and pragmatic to the point of cruelty, which I said that when I was on Malkier Talk's stream right after the episodes aired. And when I said that word, somebody said, much like Moraine is. And that's true. Moraine in episode 1, we see her being pragmatic to the point of cruelty. The other thing that this makes me wonder is, does Elayne know? Does Elayne know that this is how her mom won? I don't know. Of the 3 siblings, obviously Elayne is in the belly at this point, so no idea. Gawyn, baby. Galad would be the only one who could possibly know. His eyes were covered, but he definitely would have heard the screaming and seen the dead bodies. And, he was conscious. So he probably knows a bit of what happened here. And what that made me start to think about when that occurred to me was something that came out in Robert Jordan's notes in The Origins of the Wheel of Time. I don't know if you remember, that book came out a couple of years ago, written by Michael Livingston. If you're a fan of the Wheel of Time, you should read it. It's really, really good. But one of Robert Jordan's original thoughts about Galad is that part of his whole stick in the mud, like his issues would be that he has a resentment towards his mother. And in the book, in his original notes, it's because she has boyfriends, because he thinks that she is... he slut shames his mom, basically, is what happens. And that is part of his whole attitude. I'm glad he didn't go with that in the books. That's great. That was an idea that he jumped over, rightfully so. But I could see them bringing that in a little bit with Galad now, perhaps resenting his mom because there's a bunch of murders. So, I don't know. But it was just a connection my brain made. I have no idea if that's going to be anything, but, my brain... bing, bing, like putting things together. With all of that said, it cannot be overstated how much of a change this is from the books. In the books, when we are introduced to Morgase, we are meant to like her. We are meant to think of her as formidable, but we are also meant to think of her as an honorable and noble leader, so that when she's brought low later, it lands and actually has weight to it. This is showing her as a powerful and as a competent leader. And like I said, I don't think we're meant to think that she's evil, but I don't think we're meant to like her. The fact that one of the people that gets killed is a child, that was unnecessary. They did that to make it clear. We are not meant to look at her and think, yes, I like her. Like, I mean, you can like her in the way that you just like a badass character or whatever, but like, you're not meant to think of her as likable. So one of my thoughts then, because I feel like that's what they've done, and it's a thought that I had even before the show came out, is that I do not think she is going to last very long. The reason I thought that is not because I don't like her character in the books, is that her character is not very load-bearing. She is one that can be removed quite easily. If you'd asked me, I would have guessed they're probably not even going to introduce her. They would maybe mention her, and then, she was killed by a Forsaken, isn't Elaine sad about it? Like, I don't know, but they've, like, made her something in the show. Like, she definitely has presence in the show, but they've made her unlikable. And yeah, I don't think she's going to last very long. I was immediately confused watching this. The still that we had seen prior to the episode airing was, of course, Morgase in this same hallway, same outfit, standing next to Elaida. But she is holding Gaebril's hand here. And I was like, why is she touching Gaebril? I don't like that. Even though I'm not, like, when I say I don't like Morgase in the show, I don't mean I don't like the character. I like the way she's being portrayed, and she's a very interesting character, but I'm not, like, rooting for this iteration of Morgase. But I still don't want her touching Gaebril. And I was quite confused. Of course, by this point in the books, Morgase actually is under Gaebril's compulsion. It's just, it's unusual, or it's a change from the books to have our first introduction be her. Well, no, it's actually not her first introduction. Our first introduction to her was with the coronation. Okay. But this still feels like our first meeting, because that's a flashback. It's her under Gaebril's thumb. And actually, based on some stuff that Elaida says later, the coronation, I'm going to suspect that a lot of that was her under Elaida's thumb. This whole thing with making Queen Morgase wait, it was such a silly bit, but I love it. It made me laugh, especially like when we get close-ups of both of their faces. It just cracked me up. So if you saw my reaction, you saw that I did actually note the hesitation that Lyanna has here, which is when I presume Gaebril is doing his compulsion leave on her. I should have had more faith in myself at this point. Like, right here, I was like, that's what's going on. He has compelled everybody to think that they know him. Like, I mean, look at Swan's face, and even the tone of voice, like, I don't have any audio here, but the tone of voice that Lyanna introduces everybody else with is very, very stern. And then it becomes like soft and almost caressing when she's introducing Gaebril, which is kind of gross. And then Swan is like, a pleasure as always. It's too much. But, okay, what ended up happening, though, like right here, I was on board. I knew what was going on. And then I missed it with Elayne. And the way they interacted just confused me. And so I didn't know. I should have trusted myself. I should have trusted what I believed here. But I didn't. And there you go. Every time I've watched this scene, it makes me laugh. There's been all this pomp and circumstance, all this waiting, and like everybody had to be introduced. Everything had to be really formal. And it's like, what do we owe this honor? And she just, where's my daughter? It's just so funny. I don't know why. Did anybody else laugh at this? It cracked me up. I think they're doing a really, really good job this season with world building. So like having Morgase come in with all of this formality, wearing all of this, like she's wearing her status on her. Although so is Swan there, but she's so formal. We've seen her power, we've seen her authority, especially with that cold open, and then because she's wearing this ring, she has to show respect to the mother. This immediately shows us the different levels in this world. And then, of course, later we see that in private, they don't have to do this. Like, it's not as strict. But this it's done so naturally. They're not having to explain things to us. It's a couple of lines, it's a couple of seconds on screen, and we all go, oh, wow, okay. So that's where the Amerlin sits, that's where the Queen of Andor sits. Okay. Fish metaphor! She uses a fish metaphor, a lionfish defending its den. Yes! Just take a moment to appreciate this amazing landscape. They are crossing the spine of the world. That is a location in the books. And I've said this many, many times. I'm not someone who visualizes things very well when I read, but this just looks like something you would call the spine of the world, doesn't it? It's sharp and jagged, but also very beautiful. The Waygates. The Waygates in the show are very, very different than they are in the books. In the books, Waygates can be inside of a house, and they're just sort of an old structure that is like built into another. Oh no, it wouldn't be built into another structure. Another structure would generally be built around a Waygate because it's very difficult to destroy a Waygate. But in the show, they are these massive structures that kind of have to be outside just based on their size. So this is a change from the book. Another change that we saw in season 1 was that in order to open a Waygate, actually season 1 and 2, you had to use channeling. In the books, what it is every Waygate has, like, their doors are covered with intricate carvings, I guess. And one of their carvings is an Avendasaur leaf, and you remove the leaf and it opens it, and then you replace the leaf and it closes it. So that's how they open. So I was wondering if they were going to show this, because obviously if Perrin was going there with Bane and Shiad and Loyal, none of them can channel. So how would they do this? We've got the leaf. We have the exact same method of opening them that is in the books. There does seem to be a difference, though. What appears to happen is Loyal has the leaf, he puts it on, and then you'll see he takes the leaf, and then he seems to put it back in his pocket, right? So, okay, what could be happening here is something that does happen in the books. In the books, although he doesn't take it with him. He locks it from the outside. But in the books, when they arrive in the Two Rivers, Loyal basically tries to lock the Waygate when he leaves it. But then, like, there's no reason for him to do that here, so that's not what's happening. Because in the books, the reason he's doing that is because they are afraid of Trollocs following them at that point. So I think the implication here is that Ogier just have these leaves with them at all times, which, of course, begs the question, why did Moraine have to do all that channeling in season 1 if she had Loyal with her? I am overthinking this. Perrin does the sniffing thing, and nobody is commenting on it, which makes sense, actually, because he's with Loyal, and Loyal doesn't really judge, and of course the Aiel definitely don't judge, so that makes sense. Now, you will note what he says here is that, there was a man and a woman, and it smells like ash. And he's tracking. I think we are meant to remember, like, this is meant to evoke Elias from season 2, because, like, even his posture is reminding me of Elias. But the specific things that he says here, I think, especially again based on things that we see and hear later, we are meant to think that this is Alanna and Maxim, because it's a man and a woman, Alanna and Maxim, and then the ash could be something like basically the burial ritual that Alanna tells us about. However, I'm going to borrow a theory from Rob from Malkier Talks, because again, like I said, I was on his stream right after we watched all these episodes, and he has a theory that this is a fake out. We are meant to think it's Alanna and Maxim, but it's going to be Lord Luke and Fael, also a man and a woman. And that actually really, really tracks with other theories. So, okay, I'm going to make a wild and crazy prediction here. And I'm going to qualify it by saying that I know this is a wild and crazy prediction. So if I'm wrong, I don't sound stupid. But if I'm right, I sound like a genius. See how that works? Okay. So Loyal says only dark friends would walk the ways without an Ogier. Lord Luke, not a good guy. Bad guy. In my theories videos where I was like basically reading your theories, so I'm merging other people's theories together. One of the theories was that Slayer was going to be Padden Fane. And so, like, we'll get some sort of indication of that. They've introduced Lord Luke. We know Padden Fane is in the season. What if it's Padden Fane who is going through the ways? And, like, he and Lord Luke are merged somehow. Like, that's basically it. Padden Fane is Slayer, and he is somehow merging with Lord Luke. Because we know, based on season 1, Pat and Fane can walk the ways. And that would make sense with what Loyal says. So that's my wild and crazy theory. And if I'm wrong, I'm not stupid. But if I'm right, I'm a genius. Perrin here mentions going to a steading. We've heard about steading in the show. Of course, that's where the Ogier are from, and they're, tied to the land in a physical way. So if they're away from the steading, they just start to get what he describes here as belonging. Mentioning it, though, calling it out like this, I hope that maybe we'll see one in the show. I can't imagine how we would have time to do it this season because there's so much we have to deal with. But it seems really, really odd to me to take time out for a scene like this if we're not going to do that. Like, you have to be economical when you are making a show. You do not just randomly say stuff just to say stuff. So, studying? Other Ogier, when, please? This is what I was talking about earlier with Lyanna. I should have noticed there's a moment of hesitation with Elayne, but I didn't. Honestly, even when I rewatched it and I knew what was going on, I was like, oh my gosh, it almost looks like an editing mistake. Like, it almost looks like they just held on Elaine's shot just like half a second, not even half a second, too long. Like, if I had edited this scene without knowing what was going on, I would have made that whole, this moment here just a fraction of a second shorter. But I didn't notice it, and I'm ashamed, and yeah, he's obviously doing his compulsion thing here. Just notice the difference in the way she greets Galad and the way she greets Gawyn. I know I'm not even showing you the way she greets Gawyn, but you're not watching this video without having watched the show, right? So, she hugged him, and this is a very, very formal greeting. She likes the wrong brother. I know in the show, Galad is douchey. He's very, very douchey. But in the books, it bothers me so much that she just has such animosity towards Galad for, telling on her when they were kids. Based on I don't know the exact age difference, but I feel like he's maybe 10 to 13 years older than her, so he would have been, almost an adult. He was being responsible, Elayne, and also her whole thing was he's not my brother. Yes, he is. Fuck you, Elayne. It's my one beef with her character. My one beef with her character in the books is the way she treats Galad. I didn't recognize Rima, largely because her hair is different, but it's Rima. And I'm just so excited because I was worried. I was worried that she was going to die off screen and it was just going to be sad, or that, we were just never going to mention her again, so if you actually thought about her, you'd have to think that she was still a slave. Whatever. It's Rima. It's the same actress, even. It's Rima. If you watch my reaction, I did catch when Nynaeve said it, but I wasn't sure because I didn't have subtitles on, because, especially with this show, the first time I watch it, I generally don't put subtitles on because, for the same reason, incidentally, that I have trouble reading graphic novels. When there are words next to pictures, my brain thinks the words are the most important thing that I'm looking at, and so I'm staring at them. And I'm not really looking around at the rest of the things. I will miss things that are happening visually. And this show I want to see, especially, look how pretty it is. I'm still overwhelmed by the coloring of the weaves. I don't know if you remember back in season 1, I was I don't know if they could do coloring weaves because I feel like it would look cartoonish. I probably just because I'm very, very bad at visualizing things, and then I'm looking at it and no, it's fucking awesome, especially as a book fan, and I'm just oh look, spirit, air, water, water. I know what they're doing. It's so good. One of the reasons I love it is because it's going to be so obvious how different Nynaeve's healing is. The other two colors are very, these colors seem calm, actually. When we add the red and the green to it, it's going to be it's going to pop. It's going to pop. It's so good. I also love that Nynaeve went to Rima to help her friend. Rima is the Aes Sedai that she trusts the most. The Aes Sedai who, without having to throw her up against the wall and make her angry, was able to get her to channel. And it's another one of those moments that to me feels almost healing because it's Nynaeve seeing that her channeling did not kill this woman or get her enslaved, although she'd still be feeling bad about, the loss of her warder. I know Nynaeve, she's still probably feeling some guilt about that. But, yeah, I just love that this is the woman she went to and entrusted with Matt. It's also incredibly notable that, Rima here says that there's almost nothing we can do for afflictions of the mind. And it's not working, the weave does not hold, or whatever. Nynaeve, later on in the story, is one of the, I believe in history, she cures madness, basically. Something that even in the Age of Legends, they were not able to do. It's the one thing that Nynaeve does that isn't overshadowed by somebody else. Because everything else she does, she's the most powerful. Oh, Olivia. Oh, she healed, Stilling. Oh, wait, no, the dudes did it, and they did it better. She can heal men, but the men can heal women, and they figured it out on their own. They didn't even really need her help. Everything, she gets overshadowed, except for curing madness. That is a Nynaeve original, and it becomes a Nynaeve exclusive, and it's incredible. I just like the world building, but also not just world building, it's character building, that Swan will take, she will demand what is owed to her as far as respect and authority. But in private, she's treating Morgase here as an equal. And, to the point that Morgase says, this is very disarming. It's not only showing her character that she knows what she's owed, but she also knows how to relate to people. This is very, very deft. She's going to talk to her like an equal, and Morgase just says it. You are making me feel, not vulnerable, feel disarmed, so that I feel that I can talk with you and be honest. And, yeah, it's just, they're doing such a good job this season with this, with just showing us elements of people's character and elements of the world without having to have long explanations about it. Swan here says that Elayne is safer here in the tower than anywhere else in the world, and I'm just, no, Swan, I love you, honey, but you're wrong. Morgase here is realizing that Elayne is hiding things from her, and she says, it's fine, you'll get your on your earring tomorrow, and then you'll come home and tell me everything. And obviously that's not what happens. But this discussion made my brain go on a bit of a spiral as to what the show is doing with Morgase regarding channeling. Because book readers, we know Morgase is a channeler. She can channel. It's very, very weak, though. She's she's so weak, it's hard for her to even embrace the source. And when she embraces it, she can't really do much. She can make her flag wave, but that's about it. But she has actually touched the one power. The Morgase in the books wouldn't do this. The Morgase in the books would not remove her daughter from this because she knows how powerful the one power is. Even though she's incredibly weak. She's incredibly weak, but Elayne is one of the strongest female channelers alive. It's Nynaeve, and then huge step down, but it's still a huge step above everybody else. It's Elayne, Egwene, Avienda, and then I think down would be Morgase and Swan, Elaida, maybe. There. Oh, Olivia is at the top again. Sorry. Nynaeve getting overshadowed for no fucking reason. Okay, anyway, point is, I don't, Morgase, we know she actually wouldn't do this, because that's what happens in the books. She knows the power of the one power. Whereas, my guess is that the Morgase in the show can't, just because she's just willing to pull her away from this. What that feels like to me is my understanding of the one power in the books is that being able to use it is like having a sense that the rest of us don't have. And so we can't even understand it. It's like trying to describe a flavor without using any other flavors to describe it. You kind of can't. That's the feeling that I get. So for her, it's just, she wants to study something. Yeah, no, come home. You have other responsibilities. Whereas Morgase in the books would be like, no, the one power is big, and I need my daughter to be able to do that properly without harming themselves. And also, I understand what it feels like, and I understand my daughter's desire for it. Rand and Lan training. I don't really have any more thoughts about it, except just, yay. Lan calls Rand a sheep herder, and I love it. This is fan service. It's so good. Speaking of fan service, we get more sword forms. Look, that's parting the silk. You know how I know that's parting the silk is because he says parting the silk. He says parting the silk, and then he says show me, and then he does that. That's what parting the silk looks like. Yeah. Again, my shame as a book reader to have not put this together. I knew these bruises were not from Rand, and I know she's being choked in her dreams. And incidentally, thought that I had while making these notes, that was the first thing that the doppelganger Rand did to Egwene, was choke her. don't tell me that not Lanfear didn't do that on purpose, that she wasn't like, I'm going to make it traumatic. I'm going to choke you, and then I'm going to have Rand choke you. I am going to try and reinforce this association so you can't touch my man. I'm pretty, like, Lanfear, she's fucked up. Anyway, I didn't put together that these bruises were from Teleron Riyadh, and I'm ashamed of myself, because what the fuck else were they from? Like, she says, I healed them from the Forsaken attack, so why does she, I don't know what my brain was just, I'm sorry, I failed. Moraine here is warning Egwene about Rand channeling. And then just a few moments later, the same episode, she's talking to Rand going, you have to channel. She's trying to encourage him to channel. And I feel like it's her trying to maybe put a rift between him and, like, Egwene and Rand. Because right now, Egwene, like, the reason Egwene is here is to support Rand. And Moraine knows that part of Rand's strength and what gives him the strength to defy her, the reason he's not in Tyr, is because he's probably got these friends around him supporting him and encouraging him to do things. So she's trying to separate them. And it also, it made me think, oh shit, is it going to be revealed this season that Moraine is working with Lanfear to, like, that whole thing last episode where she allowed Lanfear to do that attack on all of them. I could see Lanfear revealing it in an attempt to put a rift between Moraine and Rand. Like, just like Moraine, I think, is trying to put a rift between Egwene and Rand. They mirror them so much. Anyway, all this to say, I'm very, very worried. She's being very, very tricksy here. Oh, he's going to channel. It's going to be dangerous. Hey, Rand, you need to channel. Tricksy Moraine. I love Moraine. I'm not mad at you. You're very, very tricksy. This Aiel prophecy, virtually word for word, as it is in the books. A remnant of a remnant shall he save after he spills out your blood like water on sand, which is kind of a hilarious thing for the Aiel to say, because spilling water for the Aiel, very, very bad. But I really do like the way Aviendha compares the Wetlander prophecy with the Aiel prophecy. The simplicity of the Wetlander prophecy is that, your savior he's either your savior or your doom. Whereas for the Aiel, he's your savior and your doom. Now, to be clear, that's actually true for the wetlands as well. Like, Rand comes, and yes, he saves the world, okay? Spoilers to the end of the books, I guess. Saves the world, but he also, there's a shit ton of destruction, right? Like, that happens as a result of him. And not, like, just a result of him, but just a result of who he is. It's not his fault. Some of it's his fault. But a lot of it's not his fault. But, so it's the same. It's just, it's not part of the core beliefs of the wetlands, as it is a part of the core beliefs of the Aiel, which is that, yeah, no, you're not all gonna die, but a lot of you gonna die. The Whitecloaks are here, in the Two Rivers, specifically to find Perrin. They are imprisoning people in order to, like, harry the town until Perrin comes home. They ride right past him. They are so useless. This is probably the most book-accurate description or like a representation of the Whitecloaks so far. They are useless. They're now, okay. Probably most of them don't know what Perrin looks like, right? So, okay, fine. I don't know if any of them were Dane Bornholt or anybody else who would have seen Perrin, but there are two Aiel and an Ogier here, and they didn't notice that either. Like, useless Whitecloaks. Mistress Alvear mentions a letter from Egwene, and in the books, she's actually the only one who canonically writes letters to her family. It's actually one of my pet peeves in the books, is how we don't hear about that. Or what actually bothers me the most is that once they discover traveling, they don't actually go visit their families. Like, it's just, in the show they've already changed this a bit. We saw Perrin writing letters in season 2, but it drives me crazy in the books. So I just like this acknowledgement. Oh, I got a letter from Egwene. Yeah, that's true. That is book canon. Egwene actually cares for her family. Hiding Perrin with the Aes Sedai, totally book accurate. Obviously, a big difference here is that they're hiding in the wine spring in the middle of town. In the books, they hide in a sick house that's, like, off in the woods. And also, of course, it's Varen and Alana. Not just Alana and Maxim. It's Varen, Alana, and her warder. So Varen and her warder, and Alana and her warder. Because one of her warders dies here. They simplified this for the show, but I'm just pointing it out because my brain notices these differences because I've read these books so many times. Also, another difference. In the books, only the woman's circle knows where the Aes Sedai are hiding, and the village council has no idea until later, but I think they're not doing that, and it's understandable because it's a lot of detail, and it's world building that I think definitely, like, it works in the books and it adds flavor in the books, but it would just take a lot of explanation in the show, and we don't got time for that. I know I keep doing this, but I can't help but just look at these amazing establishing shots of Tar Valon. This is an overhead shot of the tower, and just look at it. Okay, like, is this the warders training ground, or is this maybe the grove? No, wait, I think this is the grove. Sorry, I went off screen. Those supposed to be trees. It's just beautiful. It's so pretty. I want to know everything. Apparently, nobody is even telling Elaida what happened, which is interesting. They could very well be waiting for Morgase to leave because they don't trust her to not tell Morgase, but it's just interesting to me that nobody's telling her. She obviously has allies in the tower. We know what happens. Like book readers, we know what happens later, but it just struck me as interesting. Min using her abilities to inform Swan. This is book accurate. We don't really get to see the build up for it, but that's fine. Start a scene with action, we're in the middle. And this is like even starting a bit earlier than the middle. So yeah, you are spying for Swan. And of course, we know what she's seeing here. She is foreseeing Swan's demise. This feels so accurate to Matt, like him using the horn to flirt, to try and impress novices or any woman ever. It's weird. It feels accurate to his character, but it's such a big difference from the books. Because in the books, he doesn't want anyone to know that he's done this because they don't want to be seen as a hero, and he doesn't want this kind of attention. He doesn't want this kind of responsibility, basically. But somehow, I don't know how, this doesn't feel inaccurate. It's accurate to character without being accurate to plot. But speaking of accurate, this is very accurate. Look, we've got staff. We've got novices all going goo goo and gaga over Galad and Gawyn. And look, I'll point it out when she shows up again. There is a green Ajah sister here watching as well. So that's basically who is said to be watching this. This is just, very, very book accurate. I love the friendship between Nynaeve and Elaine. It's one of my favorites in the books. I've talked a lot about this before. But I've also talked about this before. I did not have strong feelings about Elaine at all until I made a video about her. And I made a video in response to someone sending me a message wondering why everybody hates Elaine. And I was like, what? People hate Elaine? And it wasn't that I really liked Elaine, but it struck me as weird that anybody had strong feelings about Elaine, good or bad, because I had no feelings about her. And then I started thinking about her, and I love Elaine. But I do have to admit, my primary love for Elaine is her relationship with Nynaeve and the way they balance each other. And I just love that the show is highlighting it, and we're seeing the contrast between them. But it's like this banter, I don't know, it makes my fangirl heart just grow 2 sizes. This box thing with this weave closing it, this is straight from the books. I'm assuming we're going to see this burn later on. I'm also pretty sure we saw this exact same box in season 1, and it's just been there this entire time. It's Chekhov's box. Another swanfish metaphor! Yes! But yeah, this is the scene where she's setting them off on the Black Ajah hunt, and this is very book accurate. Well, no, not exactly. Because in the books, it's Nynaeve and Egwene, and then Elaine gets roped in afterwards, because Swan knew that was going to happen, but she didn't want to do it intentionally because she didn't want to incur the wrath of Morgase, and that way she could say to Morgase without lying that she did not do anything. It was not her, blah, blah, blah. So, it is a bit different. But the reasoning is the same. The reasoning is that she knows that these two, and she probably also would say this about Egwene, but Egwene's not here. She knows that they are not Black Ajah because the Black Ajah specifically tried to remove them. So, yes, she is sending these 2 untrained girls out into the lion's den, or as Swan would say, the lionfish den. She's not sure who is Black Ajah. Even Varen. Even Lyanna. Swan here calls Liandrin not killing Nynaeve a weakness, and I agree with Swan here. Sort of. I do think that the main reason that Nynaeve didn't get any real direct attacks in the hall during the Black Ajah war fight, whatever, is because she was a novice, or like she's an accepted, but they know she can't channel. They know she has a block, and she was just beneath their notice, basically. But I also do think that Liandrin legitimately cares for her, legitimately respects her, and that is a weakness that Nynaeve can definitely exploit. I don't know exactly where the show is going to go with the antagonism, like the relationship between Nynaeve and Liandrin, but I like it. I like it so much. Nynaeve says here, like, she's like, I should have known better than to, and like the implication is like, I should have known better than to trust you or than to think you were my friend or something. My heart just breaks a bit for her in this moment. It's one of those things that doesn't really get talked about in the books. I know myself, I didn't notice it the first time, probably not even the second or third time I read these books, but Nynaeve she's lonely. Like, from the very beginning of the story, she's the wisdom in a town where she's too young, really, to be the wisdom, which means that she's not like a contemporary with any of the other people really in the women's circle, but she's older than, like she's in this middle place where she can't really have friends in the town, and then she goes to the tower, and she is immediately raised up to accepted, but she's not going to be seen as equal with the other accepted because she has this blockage she can't channel, but her friends, like the people that she came with, are novices, and she's not really supposed to be friends with them. It's just, like, there's just a lot of situations that Nynaeve is put in for a long time where she is isolated, and it's not until she starts becoming friends with Elayne that you actually see her with somebody that she starts to see as an equal. And I don't mean that like she always thinks that she's above people, but Nynaeve generally is with people who she sees as above her, or with people that she sees as being her responsibility. And at a certain point, she starts seeing Elayne as one of her equals. And it's I'm sure, wonderful for her, this fictional character in the books. But it's just, that's why she's so lonely for so long. And yeah, you see, like, in this moment, she had started to let down her walls a bit to let Elayne in. And now she's like, I gotta build those back up. A load of codswallop. Nobody but the Coplans and the Congress paid any mind. And that's just straight out of the books. I love those moments. It's just a little thing. Love it. Perrin here asks where his family is, and then Marinelle Veer says that they got them out, or like Abel and Bran, I think, and Tam maybe got them out. I got really worried for Perrin's family here. I don't know. I know nothing. I got really, really worried because Padan Fain is in the posters, and yeah, that motherfucker killed Perrin's family in the books, and I don't want him to lose another family member. I'm hoping not. He's already had a lot of tragedy, and this is supposed to be the Aiel smooching season. I don't want him to be Aiel smooching, and please don't, Mr. Salvier. What, fight against soldiers with pitchforks and grooming shears or whatever it is she says or whatever? I don't know. That's exactly what you're gonna do. Battle of the Two Rivers, motherfucker. Yeah! So it is a mystery both how and why Alanna and Maxim are here, and I don't have an answer. The only assumption that makes any sense is that they came in the ways. But I now, thanks to Rob planting a seed in my brain, have a different theory about who used the ways. I guess two people can use the ways. Or two groups of people. I don't know. I don't know why it's a mystery, and I have no insight into this at all, because it's so different. In the books, they're here, like, Alanna is here with Varen, and they're here because Moraine showed up with a bunch of channelers from the Two Rivers, and they're like, oh shit. You know what we should have been doing all this time is recruiting? Let's go to the Two Rivers. Like, that's why they're here. So I don't know what's going on right here. So in these flashes here, we see Lanfear in the full Soldan makeup. And I didn't catch it at all until rewatch. And then this scene here with the blood and dripping into Egwene's mouth. Sorry, even just looking at it to the side, it's so gross. I think that Lanfear would know that part of Ishi's plan was to make Egwene do something really, really dark. Like, I think his plan probably had it in, he's got like different forks in the road, right? So either she completely breaks and she's enslaved and then useless to the side of the light, or she like is enslaved and then in order to get free, she does something really, really dark, which she did. She did a murder. And I know I have debates even with people who I really like about this. I think I do not mourn Renna's death. I don't mourn her death at all whatsoever, but when Egwene killed her, she was not a threat. That, like, there's a point when it stopped being self-defense and became murder. And that's what I would call that. And I think, I'm not even, like, begrudging Egwene having done a murder in that case, but you know what? Okay, I'm going to quote Elias here from the books. That's what I'm going to quote. That, like, when you use an axe to cut the tree is harmed, but the axe is harmed as well. Doing a murder will do harm to Egwene, even if the murder is justified and deserved. And so I think part of what Lanfear is tormenting her with here is not just every time I look at it out of the corner of my eye, it's not just the torture of having been a soldam, but is you went dark, girl. And then Lanfear is here tormenting Rand in a much more palatable way. Why is she so compelling in this show? I love it, but also it makes me kind of mad. I was on the stream with Matt Hatch as well, and I started to talk about her, and I was like, I don't want to say it, and it makes me upset. He's like, why does it make you upset? Because you gloat. Matt Hatch is gloating so much these days because everybody loves Lanfear now, and he's been loving her for years, and he's just like strutting around, yeah, I was right, and we're all just like, yeah, you were right. Lanfear showing her jealous side, calling her Egwene a doe-eyed cow. We're getting a glimpse of it here. It just sort of comes out, but I do hope that we get to see its I do and I don't. I do and I don't want to see an inflated skin. Okay, so I just said starting to show her jealous side. No, she's been showing her jealous side this entire time. This is where I figured it out. And I can't even say figured it out. This is where the show showed it to me that, it's Lanfear. This is not just Egwene's understandably organic trauma that she's experiencing. This is Lanfear pushing her buttons to make the trauma worse. It's very, very clear that she despises Egwene because of Egwene's relationship with Rand. Like, even in the mirror test, as I said, like, she had the doppelgangers choking her. The doppelgangers were stabbing her. They weren't really trying to hurt Rand nearly all that much, but they were going after Egwene. Now, actually, I don't have a clip of it, but in the show, there's a clip where it's showing like Rand and Lanfear, and then it goes back and forth between that and Egwene and Lanfear, and it's like back and forth. And I think the implication is that they are happening simultaneously. I'm not sure. I did hear somebody suggest that was maybe just to show the dichotomy between them, but I really was thinking that they were doing it simultaneously, which then made me also think this also feels like a level up. I actually asked Matt Hatch about this, just because he's the Tel'aran'rhiod expert, sort of, in the fandom, as to whether that would be a level up, because I don't think we see something like this in the books, where there's one like Dreamwalker who's doing things to multiple people at the same time. The best example is from book 1 with Ishi in the boys' dreams and whatever. But weirdly, I actually, when I read that, never thought that was happening exactly simultaneously. I was like, he was in one dream, and then he went to another dream, and then he went to another dream, and he did the same shit. But even if it was simultaneous, he was doing virtually the same thing in all of their dreams, whereas Lanfear is doing very, very different things in these two dream scenarios. Like, there's the cuddling, and then the flirting, and then the torment and the torture. So, I don't know. To me, this feels like a leveling up of Lanfear's dream abilities, which, again, I like. I'm really liking the leveling up, if I'm right about what they were implying, and also am right about the difference between this and the books, which that's a lot of qualifiers. But if I'm right about it, the Forsaken, it's making the villains better. The weakness and incompetence of the villains in the books, it's a weakness of the books. I'm going to say something really weird right now. It's a testament to the quality of the characters and the story that Robert Jordan told, that I was as invested in it as I was, given that I just never really worried about the villains. Like, okay, when I say villains, I'm specifically talking about the Forsaken, but after a certain point, they stopped feeling like a threat. Like, it was just like, oh yeah, Randall Balefire them and it'll be fine. Whereas the show is making them feel like a legitimate threat to our crew, and I really, really like that. So, with my embarrassment, with not realizing what was going on with Egwene's bruises, and not really not realizing what was going on with Elayne, I'm going to take my wins where I get them. I called this completely. Her, in a moment of trauma in the dream, this is when she would figure out, she would accidentally do something in the dream. In my reaction, I kept calling this traveling. I didn't mean traveling. I think I was trying to say Teleranriad. I don't know what I was trying to say, but I called it travel every single time. But she's moving from one location to another within the dream world as a result of this trauma, and this is what's going to happen. And I called it from the trailer, so I'm taking my win. Min and Matt, the pair that I never knew I wanted, and I love now. And look, she's in a disguise, and I love this, because I mentioned this in my reaction, but I love this change. Although it's not as much of a change, because in the book she's in a disguise too, but it's a froofy, girly disguise, and her whole thing is like, giggling and pretending to be girly, and it's really, really cringy. And then it becomes a whole thing later on with her, like, oh, the things that I learned about putting on makeup and how to walk and whatever, I'm going to use that on Rand, and it's whatever. It's the same thing happening, but it doesn't make me cringe, and I love it. Yay. And then Matt pulling out Galad and Gawyn's sex noises. Oh my god, this scene is so funny. And this is, okay, this is really weird, what I'm about to say, because the books have not made the world and all the characters as puritanical when it comes to sex as it is in the book. So already we're dealing with a base level that has changed some of the sexual mores of the world. However, even within that change, Book Galad, like if we made everybody a little less rigid about sex in the books, Book Galad would not do this, I don't think. It just feels very, very different. So this character change, I keep having to like step back because Book Galad is one of my favorite, I don't know what to call him, B-list, C-list characters, just because he has such a great arc, and I feel like knowing where he goes makes me read him at the beginning differently. At the beginning, he feels like somebody who is struggling to figure things out, and the best way he's thought of how to do that at the beginning is to have these rigid lines that he lives within, because then, like, as long as he can make everything fit in these lines, then the world makes sense to him. Because the world doesn't make sense. Like, he's a person whose mom disappeared and abandoned him completely, and whose sister treats him like shit, and whatever. And it's just, he's a man trying to figure things out, and his arc is learning that the world, he has lots of things that happen in his arc, but one of them is learning to see nuance and shades of gray. And I actually really, the other thing I'll just say here, just because it makes me laugh, because it is a bit of a joke in the books, but Elayne, bit of a lush. And like every scene, not every scene, but a lot of scenes. Like in episode 1, they were talking about how well she drinks, and like she's making alcohol, and how she knows how to ferment it and whatever. Here, Gaebril's like, hey, want some drinks? She's like, desperately. And then later on, granted, it's him compelling her, but she says like, all we do together is drink like fish or whatever. It's just funny. I like it. So Gaebril here says that Morgase is facing challenges at home. And again, as a book reader, I'm wondering how many of those challenges are of her own doing. Because, as you know, I said, she's been shown to be very pragmatic, and pragmatic to the point of cruelty, if she deems that necessary. Or if the problems she's having at home are a result of Gaebril's manipulation, control over her. In the books, Gaebril pretty much ruins Morgase's reputation entirely by having her do very erratic and sometimes horrifying things. He also mentions that she was forced to dismiss Captain Gareth Brine. They say Brine in the show. Okay, Gareth Brine. Again, this is something that happens in the books. In the books, Gareth Brine and Morgase are lovers, and Gaebril walks up and he does his little compulsion thing, and he breaks them up, and then exiles Brine. I'm gonna do it with no explanation, and we only learn later that was because of Gaebril. So because they included the dismissal of Gareth Brine, fuck. I am inclined to believe that the challenges that she's facing at home are people being dissatisfied with her rule as a result of Gaebril's machinations. Sorry, just coming in to add, there's also the possibility that Morgase didn't dismiss Gareth Brine at all. Brine! Fuck! Gareth Brine at all. I'm gonna get used to it. Whatever. That Gaebril did it behind her back, and she has no idea because he's using compulsion on her. Matt calling Swan Your Majesty just cracks me up. I love it. It makes sense, actually, because how would he know how to address the Amelin? Like, Your Majesty is not correct. I actually don't know what would it be in this world, because, like, mother, would it just be mother? Everybody calls her mother. I guess, yeah, in our world, everybody calls priests father, even if you're not Catholic. That's just what you call them, the same way you call a doctor, even if they're not your doctor. But I don't know, it just makes sense to me that he wouldn't know, but it just struck me as odd, because that's not the right term. She's not Your Majesty. This scene, and I'm only showing a clip of it here, but this scene is probably the funniest one in the episode. It made me laugh. Just the look on his face when he realizes the stupidity of what he's done is so funny. And Swan is so deft in her manipulation of him here. And it's not like it's manipulation, but it's also just true facts. Stop telling people that you're the hornblower, you moron. Here, give it to me. That's a smart thing to do. Like, it's just, even if she was wrong, like if she was lying, which she's not, obviously, she's not lying. We know this. Book readers, we know, but everybody knows she's not lying. It would be stupid of him to be doing this in a world where we know dark friends exist. He's making himself a target because if the horn, ownership of the horn doesn't transfer, the dark friends might still want to kill him or take it from him because they know, like, it's very stupid, but I loved this, and I loved the way she did it. Like, it was just so, she eased him into it so well. The way, like, every person that she's talked to, you see her using a different method, a different direction that she comes at them with, and so far, it's been the right direction every time. This speech about Swan's uncle Huan, even on a rewatch, it put tears in my eyes, which is odd to me because that's not the case in the books. In the books, it's a very, very cool moment where I'm like, good, yes, somebody recognizing who Matt is. But actually, I think part of the reason is that this speech happens, I think, in The Dragon Reborn, right? And in The Dragon Reborn is when we first start to get to know Matt. Prior to that, I don't even think we have a Matt POV. He's been kind of a dick to Rand for 2 books. And then The Dragon Reborn, we get his perspective, and you realize, oh, he's like Nynaeve in that he lies to himself a lot. And some of what he's putting up, like the exterior that you see of him, is not what's going on. Like, I talked about it in a previous video, but like much like with Nynaeve, who Matt is the person between the things he thinks about himself and between what he does. Like, that's the truth of who he is somewhere in the middle there. And if you're not seeing both of them, you can't put it together. You can't figure out who he is. So part of what this speech is in the books is helping us to understand who Matt is. So it's more like a point to Matt and go, look, this is who Matt is. Matt's like her Uncle Huan. Swan recognizes it. We like Swan. We trust her judgment. That's who Matt is. But because in the show, I feel more attached to Matt as a person, this feels like a finally somebody seeing who he is and seeing his worth, because he's had 2 seasons of people telling him that he's shit. Like, first season was Pat and Fane being like, hey, you're just a thief. And his mom being like, you're going to grow up to be just like your dad. And then season 2, we got Liandrin being like, your friends don't hate you and you're shit. And then Ishamael's like, drink this tea. Let me teach you how in every single turning of the wheel, you're a bastard. And then he blows the horn and he realizes that he's a hero of the horn. But here's Swan going, I'm a person outside of you, and I'm looking at you, and I'm seeing you as a hero. And it got me really well. One of the things the show is doing that I really, really like is it's giving our characters a lot more agency. Egwene negotiates to go through the arches and then just leaves and chooses to go to the waste, to support her man. But whatever, it's a choice. And Elayne here is negotiating with her mother to stay in the tower. In the books, Egwene does choose to go to the waste. It's a choice she makes. But it's not from the tower. She's already left. She was sent away, kind of, by Swan on the Black Ajah hunt. And Elayne stays in the tower after her mom tries to come and get her because Swan does the negotiating behind her back. Because, and as I mentioned before, Morgase understands the danger of channeling because Morgase herself is a channeler, and Swan is like, you actually can't take her yet. It's not safe. She needs to know. And that's another thing. The show has done a very, very good job of showing the dangers of male channeling, but it hasn't shown any dangers in female channeling yet so far, except for possibly linking. Okay, so there's linking, but we haven't really seen that there's any danger to female channelers at all. So that might just be to simplify things, because yeah, you just want to make the stark difference. I get that, but in the books, that is a decision that is made for Elaine, and here it is a decision that she's making for herself, and I really appreciate it. I see more of these characters taking control of their own lives, and it makes them feel more real. It also makes a lot of sense, just because in the books they definitely feel younger, so the adults just sort of moving them around like pieces on a chessboard does kind of make sense. But they feel more real because they are moving in the world, and the world is not just picking them up and moving them. Just going to also mention, in this conversation, they mention Tigraine. They talk about Tigraine leaving, and basically that being the reason that Morgase was able to take the throne. I'm assuming, maybe I'm not assuming, I don't know. Because we're going to learn, obviously, about Rand's backstory from the Aiel. Will this be the season that we are able to put together what happened? We're getting, like, some Andorian history. Yeah, okay, I'm going to make that assumption then. This season, we're going to be able to put that together. We're going to learn about Tigraine. We're going to learn about, obviously, Janduin, I guess. Yeah, okay, that's my call right now. Sorry, that was live processing that you just got there. Rand says to Moraine here, are you going to keep ignoring me? This is something that happens in the books. It happens in book 2, in The Great Hunt, where she ignores him in order to make him stay, to come to her. It's a very clear manipulation tactic where she realizes that if she's too aggressive in her attempts to advise, I don't know if I even call it manipulation at this point in the story, although she does definitely manipulate him in that story, but like, just if she tries to tell him what she thinks he should do, he will do the opposite. He will get his back up, and so she starts ignoring him so that he will come to her. And that's just, again, what's happening here, I guess. He's coming to her because she's ignoring him, and they've summarized several chapters of a book in one sentence. I am still not sure about what the show magic rules are here, like what Moraine can see. In the books, women can see other women's weaves, and men can see... Actually, I don't think men can see. I don't think men can see other men's weaves, but they can sense it, like it's another sense that they're using in order to sense whatever weaves the other men use. But she's looking at his hand, like you see her eye line looking at his hand. Now, she could just be looking at his hand because she knows he's channeling and he's holding his hand out, so she's assuming it's on his hand, but I still feel like if she didn't know, she'd be looking more at his face in this. And this is another one of those situations where I think my book brain is causing me confusion, where I think not people who haven't read the books are not confused at all. Like, I think they don't care about it. It's not because they don't, if you haven't read the books, you don't quite know how hard and fast these rules are. So I don't know. It's just my book brain keeps making me go, why is she looking at it? Why is she looking? She shouldn't be able to see anything there. The other thing I will say, though, I do love his description of what the corruption, not the taint, but whatever. The way he describes it, it's just very good. And it's very much what the books describe, but I'm hoping that it is fully able to get across to non-book readers what the problem with the male half of the source is. Morgase is leaving Elaida here at the tower, and okay, something about the way this is done. It's done so casually that it ended up feeling ominous to me. This is going to be an irritation that Swan has to deal with, and that's what I think we're supposed to feel from this. But we spent so much time at the tower in this season, this being it. I think that this is going to be the main arc of the season. My suspicion, like, if you'd asked me, I think I even said it earlier on, like in a trailer, or I don't know, maybe in a reply to, I have no idea. I know I said this to somebody somewhere, but that I was expecting the schism, Elaida's takeover to happen sort of maybe episode 4, no, not 4, because I'm pretty sure 4 is going to be Ruidian, but like 5 or 6. So we had a couple of episodes of seeing a stilled Swan. But now my suspicion is that the tower coup is going to happen in maybe episode 7 or 8. Like, it'll be like, I could see us ending the season with the big, like, dun dun dun, being that Elaida's on the throne or on the Amerlin seat, and that we will have seen all season that build up, and that will be the I don't know. It's just something about how this was done so casually that I don't know. It's because it's just, oh, she's staying. Well, that's annoying and irritating. And my brain went, wow, wow, wow. So I feel like that's what's going to happen. That our big dun 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 at the end is going to be Elaida is on the Amerlin seat. Now, granted, we know that's going to happen, right? But I was thinking that was going to happen before the season. I was thinking that was going to happen mid-season. Now I think it's going to happen end season. All right, there you have it. My many, many, many thoughts about episode 2 of season 3 of The Wheel of Time. Let me know your thoughts. Things that oh God, if I missed anything in this video. I've been recording this time again, almost 2 hours. Wow. Okay. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I do want to hear them. I'm just joking about that. I'm sure I've missed something. I cannot go through every scene, otherwise these videos would never, ever, ever end. And my voice, I know why Mad Hatch has to eat lozenges. Wow, he's come up a lot in this episode. Anyway, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like my content and you want to support me, I also have a Patreon that is linked in the description below. To my patrons, as always, thank you so, so much for your support. This would all be impossible without you, so thank you. And with that, I am going to end this here. So please like, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.